Okay, let's start off by looking at a traditional melody harmonized in a fairly simple 18th century style. And what we're going to see in this example is that a lot of the rules from what we know about counterpoint still apply. For example, looking at this without even hearing it, you can see that the counterpoint is a one-to-one relationship. For every note in the bass line, there's a note in the melody. Now, I think probably going forward, most of the time, I'm going to use those words instead of counterpoint and cantus firmus. It's just a little bit more relevant to the kind of music that we're talking about here. Once you hear this song, you'll say, oh, that's a melody, and the lower part is a bass line. It sounds very much like that and less like a counterpoint example, but it still is a counterpoint example. So, in a way, it's really similar to first species counterpoint. Every note has a paired note in the melody and bass line. But it's not whole notes. The rhythms change. But that's okay in this kind of music that we're doing now. So let's hear this, and you might recognize the melody. Okay, that's My Country 'Tis of Thee, kind of American folk song, hymn, or something like that. So let's treat this just like we treated the traditional counterpoint. So the first thing I want to do is look at our intervals. So let's label our intervals the same way we did before. Okay, an F to an F is an A. A D to an F is a third. A B flat, don't forget that key signature. A B flat to a G is a 6. A C to an E is a third. Oops. A C to an F is a fourth, which is a dissonance still, but sort of. We'll come back to that. A C to a G is a fifth. An F to an A is a third. Oops. A D to an A is a fifth. A B flat to a B flat is an octave. A C to an A is a sixth. A C to a G is a fifth. A D to an F is a third. A B flat to a G is a sixth. A C to an F is another fourth. A C to an E is a third. And an F to an F is an 8. Okay, so there's my intervals. Now let's look at the kind of motion we have here. Remember that we have a few different types of motion. Contrary motion is the one that we like the most. That gets used more than anything else in traditional counterpoint. In this kind of counterpoint, we still lean on contrary motion as much as possible, but we also have a stronger use of oblique motion. Remember, oblique motion is a situation like right here, where one note stays the same. So it's kind of odd motion because only one voice is moving. That's called oblique motion. So let's do this. Let's call that O for oblique motion. Let's put it at the bottom here. So between these two notes, or actually these four notes, I suppose, it's oblique motion. Right here we have contrary motion. We're going up, and this one's going down. So let's do this. Oops. So let's call that contrary motion. Okay, between these two, B to C, G to E, we have contrary motion again. Great. Here we have another case of oblique motion. This voice is going up. This one is staying the same. So we call that oblique motion. Here again, this voice is staying the same. This voice is going up. Still oblique motion. Here this voice is going up and this voice is going up by different intervals. So we call that similar motion, remember? This is all stuff we've covered before, but sort of a refresher. So similar motion means they're going in the same directions but by different intervals. G to A is a whole step. C to F is a fourth. So not exactly parallel. Parallel would be if they were moving at the same exact interval. And we like to avoid parallels as much as possible. So A to A and then F to D. That's oblique motion again. A to B flat, D to G. That's contrary motion. B flat to C, B to A, another contrary motion. A to G, C to C, another oblique motion. Lots of oblique motion here. A up to B, G, B flat, or sorry, C up to D, and G down to F. That would be contrary again. D down to B flat, F up to G, another contrary motion. G down to F, B flat up to C, another contrary motion. C to C, F to A, that's another oblique motion. And then F up to C, or sorry, C up to F, E up to F, that would be similar motion. Same direction, different intervals. Okay, what have we learned by doing this? So much oblique motion. And if you remember in the past, when we looked at the different kinds of motion, oblique motion was rare. We didn't have it very often. It wasn't bad, it wasn't good, it was just kind of something you could do on occasion, and it was not something you were supposed to do very often. Here we have it all over the place. Why? Why is that true? The reason is we're getting more kind of sing-songy here. We're getting more melodic. And in melodies, where you have words, you repeat notes. It's something that you do. And if you want a bass line to follow a chord, you also do it in the bass line fairly often. So it's just kind of a effect of making this more musically memorable, I guess, that we get a lot more oblique motion. And that is allowed in this kind of counterpoint. So that brings us up to speed. Now let's move forward and talk about chordal dissonance.